beautiful people. Welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz, LoveTalk. I'm delighted. I've got a different theater group with me this morning. I've got Robert Martin and Carrie Brunk, the founders of the Kentucky-based theater group Clear Creek Creative. And I believe Robert is the main actor for this performance. Ezell, is it Ezell Ballad of a Land? Ezell Ballad of a Landman. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Babz.
Thank you for having us.
I love the Kentucky accent. I hear it.
We're glad to bring it to you.
Thank you very much. So I am quite intrigued by this production. Tell me about it. Now, let me see if I get this right. So it's sort of environmental, man against the land or man of the land. It's outside. People are a part of it. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. You got it right. You
Right.
You want to say more?
Yeah, Ezell, Ballad of a Landman, does happen outdoors. It also happens unusually in 5 different parts. So the audience arrives and they're greeted with a little bit of food, a little bit of drink. Here's where you are. Here's where the bathrooms are. Here's the bug spray and the suntan lotion, whatever. And then they're like, the audience is in a small group with a guide, and that guide is an artist who leads them through the experience, leads them through the woods, through music and sculpture in the woods, through a beautiful green forested area off of Yale's West Campus. So you feel like you're sort of escaping into the woods a little bit, but safely. And then you get to a space in the woods where there is a camp that is set up, and you're entering into Ezell's camp. And in that space, it's like, hold on, what's going on here? Who is this person? Why are there tarps and things hanging? And through that hour of the story, the story of Ezell is revealed to you, and how this person is trying to get back to their family land after being, after the family has lost that land due to hardship and the loss of Ezell's grandparents and so on and so forth. So Ezell, through the course of this story, is trying to get back to what it was when he was a kid with the family land, with the family farm. And what does he have to do that? He has to take a job as a landman, as somebody who tries to use his familiarity with his people to get them to sign mineral leases for the rights to their land. So he's trying to use this, what he thinks of as like the last bit of his privilege, his familiarity, his skin, to say, hey, y'all, like, sell this mineral rights, and, maybe you'll get to keep your land. My family had to sell off our land. But that's not what happens. What happens is when you sell off your mineral rights, then everybody has to be subject to fracking. But he's using that job to buy back his own family land, which means then that family land has to be fracked as well. So it's sort of this idea of, what do you have to trade off to try to get ahead? What part of yourself do you have to sell in order to try to find access to the dream? And that's really that moral conundrum, right? Like, we all practice domination in ourselves and in our community in different forms. But what happens to spirit when you end up practicing domination? Where does that erode away? And then to complete the experience, the audience then journeys back through the woods, and they get an epilogue of what happens generations after Ezell has done those deeds. And they get to meet Ezell's daughter, Eliza, and then they get to feast. They get to have a music jam and a community circle and a song and food that is locally sourced and prepared. So that's the experience through the woods of Ezell, Ballad of a Landman.
Yeah.
You got some therapists around? Because this sounds like it's going to be heavy.
You know what? It's a great question, and we don't explicitly have therapists, but I would say in many ways that our guides, the people who facilitate and curate the experience of the audience through the journey, are really there to support people and to have the conversation afterward. Part of the reason that we set up a meal afterwards is to have people sit down and be in community and really talk about the experience and what it brings up for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Food therapy. Nature therapy.
Food therapy, nature therapy, music therapy.
I love it. So why is this near and dear to your heart? Does this have some roots in your historical story, or like how did you get inspired to sort of think about this in this way?
Well, I mean, the story of someone coming to ask to buy up your land rights is not a new story. Where we're from in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in Eastern Kentucky, people have been in that story of extraction for a long time, as have people all over have experienced what extraction. And that's one of the central stories, right? What does extraction do to us as a people? What you do to the land, you do to the people. What you're doing to the land, you're doing to yourself and to spirit. So that's one of the elements. But Carrie, maybe you can share what it was when a land rights speculator came to our farm, our 87-acre place that we care for in Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, very specifically, it's been almost a decade ago now, but a landman, which is the kind of colloquial term for someone who is hired, subcontracted by the oil and gas industry to purchase the mineral rights to go out and sort of sell these leases for mineral rights. A landman came to our farm many years ago, at this point, 2014, seeking to essentially exploit the opportunity of what the industry calls a shale play, the play of the Rogersville Shale, which is a shale formation that runs through eastern Kentucky and the Appalachian Mountains and into West Virginia, south of the Marcellus Shale, which is a more commonly known geological formation that has been being fracked throughout Pennsylvania. And so as the industry is seeking to expand southward into West Virginia and into eastern Kentucky, we were on one edge of that play of the industry. And so a landman came to our home and began pitched us on a mineral rights contract and pitched all of our neighbors. And we banded together, knowing that wasn't what we wanted for our community or for the land that we live on or for any of the communities surrounding us. And so we began a process of community organizing. And this artistic piece, Ezell, became part of that organizing over a long-term process, right? We think of this as a long-term durational artistic and cultural organizing project that began nearly a decade ago, right? And has carried through our community's ongoing work and is part of a larger movement for just transition, right? A transition away from fossil fuels and toward a clean energy future that we have been a part of, and many other people and organizations, both home in Kentucky and across this continent, around the world, are a part of.
So when you bring this production, when you bring this work to community, what is the response?
Well, we try to offer as many different insertion points for people's hearts and minds and spirits to find. There's a story in there about what is our role in the face of climate crisis, climate catastrophe, intergenerational trauma, displacement of land, colonial displacement, family displacement, farming displacement. What is it to mourn the loss of elders? What is it to listen to the ancestors and what they're saying? And how do you leave the place better than you found it? How do you prepare it for those yet to come in this moment? And I think, we surround this performance, this story, with these elements of unwinding from your day, from the world you live in, then being in community with people in the old way, around food, around story, and just letting this story surround your story and your community, so that then it's not a transactional, I'm consuming this story and I'll think about it and then I'll go on my day. And that might be what people take out of it, but there's also a way, hopefully, to deepen into those older roots of like, where do we all see ourselves in a common story, and how do we talk about that, and how do we process it? How do we process, start to process those hard places of trauma, but also move that trauma into hope and possibility and resiliency and love, right? Because it's not an aspect of, well, here's a cautionary tale, you better do right, right? It's that we've all done wrong. And we keep doing wrong, and we got to learn from that and heal from that and say that in order to then, manifest, a livable place for us all.
Mm-hmm. So how important is it to be outside? Because I could easily see this production staged up somewhere. Was that ever a consideration, or did you, in your heart and mind, just like, this has to be outdoors and has to be experienced in the woods?
It feels really important for it to be in the woods. We certainly considered, and we have done versions of the performance that are indoors, but for us, that a significant component of what we're doing is inviting people into a connection with nature, into a more intimate reconnection with the land, in the natural environment. And we found, and particularly doing it, we had opening night last night here in New Haven, and so many of the people living in an urban context don't have that opportunity to connect and be in nature as often as they might like, or as they might think is actually good and valuable for them. So for us, the setting it in nature, setting it in the woods is, while it makes things a lot harder than the controlled environment of a theater, of a black box, it's a critical component to awakening people to the energy and spirit, I think, of what we're hoping to do and what we're trying to bring.
And you get these magic moments, right? Because essentially, like, God or creator or however spirit, what you want to call it, is our lighting designer. And, suddenly you get these like winds that come through with like 1,000 seeds that pass through in the moment, or like a flock of birds will descend and just light for a minute and then move on. Or, the other day, right before the show started, I heard something behind me and I turned and there was a coyote on the other side of the fence. Like, and I was like, what are you doing? And it was just like, staring at me. And I was like, okay, we are in the nature and let's just bring it, let's just be in that space and really take a minute to, let that set design, be in our spirits for a little while.
So this story, I mean, I would imagine that this story resonates with a great many people. I mean, I'm sure it resonates with Indigenous people. I'm sure it resonates with black farmers and all kinds of people. What do you want people to take away from this experience? Is there some activism that you want to happen out of this?
A great question. I mean, one of the things that we seek to invite people to consider is just, what is your work, right? Like this character Bob mentioned earlier, that at the end there's a character, Eliza, who I play and wrote for, and she's Ezell's daughter at some time in the future beyond the story that the audience has witnessed. And what she's really inviting people to do is ask, like, what's in your heart that needs healing, right? And what's in your people and in your line all the way back, right, that needs healing. And inviting all of us to think about that, both in terms of our own like generational and family lineages, but also in terms of our people, right? So you mentioned Indigenous people, and white people in this country have a lot to consider and to care for in terms of the colonization of this place, right? And the impacts that people have had here, right, relative to this land that our generations back, right, that our ancestors came to, right? We have a lot to reckon with in terms of enslavement, right? We have a lot to reckon with in terms of who we have been on this land. And I think it's really our belief, and this story is exploring it, that lives on in us, right? That lives on in our bodies and our communities, and the ways that the societal problems and the institutional challenges that we face continue into this day. And so we're really inviting people. It's beyond an environmental justice piece, right? It's really it's inviting us to think more broadly about what is it that needs healing in ourselves and in our communities, so we can create a much more just world for everyone. Right. And we're inviting everyone into that question.
And I would add to that this just to add just a little element to that is just when you first come into the woods and encounter the story, I think there's a degree from the audience of what I'm witnessing is the other. This person or this story is outside of me. It's somebody else's story. And I think this process hopefully is a process of understanding empathy towards the other, or compassion towards the other. Understand that we all face trauma, we all practice domination, and how are we bound up in one struggle? How do we all have to then explore those traumas, those demons, in order to then be able to be in a space where we can start to heal for moving forward. That's another element that I think it's about justice for individual and community and society, and finding empathy towards the other.
Mm. So how do you prepare for this? Because how long have y'all been doing this, and how do you get ready for this with each performance? Because this seems like a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. Well, as I said, that initial experience that sparked much of this work was nearly a decade ago, and the work has grown over time. And it was really with the support of the National Theater Project from the New England Foundation for the Arts that we won a national award that several years ago, 3 years ago in 2019, just pre-pandemic, that allowed us to be able to be out developing this to take it on the road, right? Before that, it had been a very local project, primarily based in Kentucky. And that award and the support of other organizations, the National Performance Network, the Network of Ensemble Theaters, a great artist activist organization from the South, Alternate Roots, the support of all of these entities that has allowed us to take this story out on the road. We've done residencies at home, building a set. The original performance was done at a live oak tree in the woods at the Clear Creek Creative Eco-Cultural Center that Bob referenced earlier, where we live and work and host outdoor events, cultural events at our place. And so over many years now, we've developed this work, and we have an ensemble of 10 people who travel with us, who all help to make it happen. We meet another usually 10 to 12 artists and crew on site who become part of our team for the week to help make it happen. And have a lot of different rhythms and routines that we get in relationship to the land and one another to help make it all happen.
And we deeply rely on partnerships, on community collaboration. So for example, in this instance, our local host, Tyga Christie, who's a fellow with the Yale Schwarzman Center, who is our presenting organization, as well as the Yale School for Public Health and the Happy Initiative. Those partners have come together to make this very non-traditional, piece in the woods with food, right? We're constructing the set and the journey from scratch. It takes a lot of community buy-in, and we trust this vision, and we want to offer this safe, accessible, unusual experience to all of our audiences who want to come and be part of this. And so those entities also then allow us to do community organizing, not just in the show, but like, for example, we were at the Co-op High School yesterday with high school juniors and seniors, and we performed an excerpt, took them through a body activity, a centering activity, and then talked to them about, theater and, what do they know about Appalachia, and how do we make a living doing this work? And, their minds were on prom last night, but they gave us an hour to just like kick it and be with them and understand their perspective better, and invite them to come to be part of the performance as well, as they're willing.
Yeah, and
wish I'd have known, because I would have got y'all to come to Common Ground High School, which is a urban farm in the middle of on the outskirts of New Haven, which is a high school.
Amazing.
And we practice social justice work, environmental justice work all the time, and I think, and it's a farm. And it's
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And y'all could have probably produced it over there too, because we got space.
Probably could.
That's how this thing goes, just like that.
Yeah,
I love it.
When we go to Buffalo, we're going to be hosted Buffalo, New York, by Ujima Theater Company, one of the oldest African-American theater companies in the country. And we'll be working in a partnership with 2 urban farms there in Buffalo, who will be providing and sourcing a lot of our food for the meal that happens at the end. And so we're always looking for those kinds of partnerships. We found the people that are making the meal here, Farm Belly, Meg from Farm Belly, who's cooking all of the local food. We found them when we were here a month ago, site visiting, heading to the farmer's market and talking to some of the vendors and saying, hey, who will cook your fresh food?
Who cooks your food?
Who source food from you? Who will cook it? And so we found our way to the Farm Belly, and she's been doing a great job for us all week, feeding the people.
Okay. So how long do you think this journey will go for y'all with this particular project? And does this project turn into does it grow or morph into more or less a different story?
A great question.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we know that it will continue at least through next spring. We have we'll be in Damascus, Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania, and one of the areas where fracking has really been a predominant factor in the last decade. We'll be there on the Delaware River with them in 2 weeks. We'll be in Buffalo, New York, as I mentioned, in mid-July. We'll be at the Co Festival in Amherst, Massachusetts at the end of July.
Lord have mercy, when are y'all gonna be home?
We got
Tell us, we've got a garden to
we got
plant.
garden, we got animals, we got to cut the grass.
It will be next spring. We go out at the invitation of the Green Music Center to Sonoma, California. So we'll be there next April, and then we have invitations in a handful of other places. But as you said, you know, how does this morph or change or grow and evolve? And that's a question we keep asking ourselves, you know, and for us, we were saying this to the students yesterday, it's really important that the spirit and the muse of this work continues to feed us and feed the people that we are sharing it with, right? And so we have more invitations, and we're sort of, you know, keeping them on pause for the moment, just to make sure that as we get through all these other performances, we continue to feel good about it and feel like it's alive and feel like it's feeding our whole team, right? And that our whole team wants to continue to do it or see what else wants to emerge, you know, because it has been a long process and project, and right now it continues to feel very, very vibrant. And so I can imagine it will continue to have a life into next year and beyond. And I feel quite certain that it will open up, you know, new opportunities for us and for our whole team, and hopefully spark. We've already, you know, heard feedback and reflections from many of our audience members for what it has sparked in them. So,
and so do you pay attention to the issues of the day? Like, we're in the middle of a daggone pandemic that people seem to want to wish it away. Do you take some elements of that and add it to the story, or do you know, how do you take some of the moments of how do you take some of the things of the day environmentally that's happening? I mean, the fracking piece, yes. Do you do that? Do you say, you know what, there might be opportunity for us to put this in here or do this or speak to this?
Yeah. Well, so two things on that. One is we have a small curatorial curation of a gallery space at the end of the show, where you get to see some photographs of what it looks like where we're from. You get to see reclaimed mountaintop removal sites. You get to see sort of cross sections of Appalachia. Then that is alongside of these printed artistic panels that have different viewpoints of the landscape of Ezell, Ballad of a Landman. What is an indigenous view of the land that we're on right now? Who are the first peoples and where are we right now? What is the economic or the geological view? What is this Marcellus shale? What is fracking? What does it look like? What does the mycelial network look like that's underneath of us all? What is the colonial settler viewpoint, right? Where's people migration happen? So there's all these different lenses to then start to process with the food and the music after you've been through the journey, to say, how do I put these things together, and what is then that spark in me, especially around this sort of central theme of you know, domination, right? In the story, we refer to a verse in Genesis: God gave man dominion over.
You know, as you were saying domination, that kept coming up in my mind. So it kept coming up for me.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to problematize that concept of, you know, man, quote, having dominion over nature. And have we misinterpreted dominion to mean domination, that we're playing God, versus dominion as domain? We're taking care of our home, and we're missing that call to, it's our charge to take care of our place, not to dominate each other and place, not to play, you know, creators. So that's what's coming up for me when you ask that question.
Well, and one thing I would say specifically, just you asked about the context of the pandemic, right, and the conditions that we've been in, and I think that this this experience has been very responsive to those conditions. And in many places, like we toured to New Orleans last fall, for many people in that community, it was the first time that they had been out to do an event, a public event. And the fact that it was outdoors made it safe and possible for people, right? The fact that we still invited people to keep masks on and be mindful of that allowed many people to be in a space of community for the first time in 2 years, right? And so it became an intimate part of it. We were also in New Orleans 6 weeks out from Hurricane Ida, right? The hurricane that hit there late August. And initially we thought with our local partners there, we thought, maybe we ought not come and do this. Y'all got a lot to focus on, a lot of rebuilding and a lot of care for your community. And the response we got back was like, actually, we absolutely need this. This is the kind of thing we need right now to be able to come together as a community. And let's figure out how we donate all of the ticket sales to local organizations who are doing hurricane relief work. And so we've got into partnerships with 2 local organizations, Rise St. James, a Black-led organization that's centered in a parish just outside of New Orleans, where much of the damage of that particular hurricane hit, and the Yukani Ekalana Garden of the United Homa Nation, which is an indigenous project where young people are leading a reclamation of the land there. And so we were able to donate through the ticket sales and additional fundraising that we as a team did $5,000 to each of those organizations, which isn't a huge amount of money, but for 2 small grassroots organizations mattered in that moment, right? And so I would say those are real ways that we're seeking to put our, the opportunity that this performance brings into real solidarity and action with local communities, to be a catalyst, right? And to be responsive to, as you said, what's happening in a community and in society at a given moment.
So these performances are free here.
They are. Yes, they are. Yep, that's all subsidized by the Yale Schwarzman Center and the School of Public Health Happy Initiative. They have come together as partners and made it free for the community and for students on campus at Yale.
So people have one more opportunity to see this.
3
right?
more, actually.
3?
Yeah, we've got a show tonight at 5:30, tomorrow at 5:30, and Sunday afternoon. And there may be a wait list. Yeah, Sunday afternoon at 1. There is a wait list for Sunday show, I believe, but there's still some tickets available for tonight and tomorrow night. And we've encouraged people, even if you get online and you see that it's sold out, please sign up for the wait list, because there's always folks who don't show. So people come on out, and we're happy to get you in and squeeze folks in. So please, if you're interested, even if you see that there aren't tickets available, come on out, and we're likely able to squeeze you in.
And that's on the Yale Schwarzman Center's website.
Yes.
The link to those tickets and times.
I'm at the, so it's schwarzman.yale.edu.
That's
and,
right.
If my producer is around, he'll put it up on the screen.
Great.
So Harry, if you're around, you can put it up.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
no, I think this is, I am very interested in this because I don't know if y'all are familiar with Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower.
Oh, yes.
And Parable of the Talents.
Yes.
And so this
Amazing
feels very
writer.
much like Parable of the Talents. It's giving me that vibe.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad to know that y'all know it.
Absolutely. Certainly. That's an amazing writer, a great inspiration to this kind of work.
Because we're bringing Parable of the Sower here for part of the International Festival of Arts and Ideas.
That's amazing.
So this is a lovely a bridge to that, I think.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
Toshi Regan's work, that's inspired work. Inspired work.
Yes. So all right, Harry, I check your text, because I put the link in the text. It's the schwarzman.yale.edu. So before you go, tell me, what is your favorite part of this project? Like what gets you excited and up in the morning to just run and do this?
That's a great question.
Well, one of the things you asked earlier, this goes into one of the things you asked earlier, which is how do you prepare to do the work? And I think, this gives us the opportunity, especially when we're away from home, you're out of your normal routine. And so, the most important thing to do that day is to be prepared to then offer this work, offer this story to people. But it's also like you're hosting people. You're trying to radically host people into this experience and give them ways to be nurtured and cared for in this experience. And so, that work is like we do it as a group. We sing together. We get together and we sing. We harmonize, literally and figuratively, right? We have a team sync where we all check in. We see how we're doing. We honor what's happened today, the hidden work, the many hands that have made the day possible. And then, we are grounded in song together, and we just look at each other and we're like thankful for the work that we're doing and we're going to do. And then we close the experience with the audience, with the song as well, and with music. And I don't know, to me, there's something there that's not something I do every day. And I'm very thankful to be in that space.
And I would say for me quickly, just that, the moments that I really appreciate and look forward to are these unexpected moments where afterwards, when we're having the meal and we're, wandering about talking to the different audience members, just that one audience member that will offer a reflection to you, say something that was really meaningful and moving to you, to them, and share that with you. At the last performance we had, there was a really, really beautiful moment where an elder man just came up and said, how do y'all do that? Like, how did you get in my heart? Like, nobody has ever gotten in my heart like that before. And you got in there, right? And it was just this really beautiful and profound moment of sharing and witnessing with a man who I imagine has not had the opportunity to, express himself emotionally, or tap into that place much in his life. And so I think those moments we usually have, any number of us on the team have some kind of exchange with an audience member who's really, really moved.
And wasn't that the person who then was like, well, I got to come back tomorrow night and bring my daughter because we have to go through this together.
Yeah, he did. He said, I don't care if you sold out. I'm coming back with my daughter tomorrow night. We said, okay,
yes,
all right.
Yes,
We'll see you tomorrow.
What's the capacity? Is it 20 people, 10 people, 50 people? How many people can you fit in the woods with y'all?
We usually do about 50 people at a time.
Ooh, that's a lot of people.
It is, but it's still a pretty intimate, for a theater audience. It's not that big, but for this kind of experience, it still allows it to be intimate. You'll move through with 15 or so people in a group, and so we still create a very
bread together.
Yeah, we still create a very intimate experience at the same time as we seek to share it with as many people as we can. It'll be maybe 200 people in New Haven that get to experience it, and a lot of work and effort goes in to give that experience to those 200 people. So we cherish every one of them.
Absolutely.
Wow. I so enjoyed this. I'm excited about this. Let's see if I could, get some tickets.
You're VIP.
Come on, VIP. Which
VIP.
night? Tomorrow? You want to be there tonight? Tomorrow?
Yes. I think I want to come
to.
tonight. I think tonight would be my best opportunity.
Well, come on. 5:30, Yale West Campus. You'll see the signs. They'll point you in the right direction.
All right. I'm gonna make my way over there. I want this experience now. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to be in the woods with white people. I don't know.
Trust.
But,
it'll be good. I promise.
But I love this. I love the way this is expanding my mind, and I just want to see it. I think it's something to be seen and experienced. And I so appreciate y'all coming on this morning and sharing this gift with us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting us. It's a gift to us to be able to share it and be in conversation with you. So thank you for extending the trust to have the conversation. We hope to see you tonight.
Appreciate you.
Well, I will be the one with the purple hair, so I will.
I love it. Our director has blue hair, so just watch out.
The Rainbow Coalition. Thank you so much. Right. You all rock. I can't wait to see this performance. Good luck to y'all. And now people can find y'all outside of the Schwartzman Center. What's the Where can people find y'all if they want to stay in touch?
Yep, clearcreekcreative.net. Clearcreekcreative.net. Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bob Martin and Carrie Brunk. This was a good conversation today. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you. All right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Bye-bye.
All right, Harry, play us out. It's a Friday. I'm going to go see this, but I'll be back on Monday, and I got guests on Monday. So I'll see y'all. Be safe out there in these streets and be kind to everybody.